Hi all, thanks for joining. I will be talking about data and the value of data agentic tooling, work in progress, because I think still to this day, we still don't know the complete understanding of what an agent is in the industry. A bit of a safe harbor statement. Some of the stuff you will be seeing here today can change. There are some of the products at Weaviate that are currently in technical preview, but a lot of things can change as the rapid pace of the innovation of this industry goes. My name's Josh. I'm an enterprise solutions architect at Weaviate, working on the enterprise side, helping all of our customers pre and post sales deliver solutions and provide value to their customers. A history of interfacing. One quick thing, the notes are not showing up while they're fixing that. First, there was SQL back in the 70s. Structured query language. Really bespoke knowledge was needed. It was the one language. It was all structured. It took a lot of learning curve. But then, as we started working towards the 90s, we came into these native drivers and ORMs, making it easier to interact with these different systems with a less learning curve, which really did help target application developers. So now enabling the application developer to be able to interact and build applications. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. These native drivers and ORMs have been around for a while, and now we come to RAG. And within RAG, what you now have is the ability to talk to your content. And being able to talk to your content really unlocked a whole new way to start interacting with your data. However, with RAG, there was still limitations. This is iteration 1. You could only really deploy and implement some pretty high-level applications, such as your corporate chatbot, for GPT, CVIC GPT, that corporate enterprise search chatbot, that phase 2 of that application, as well as other things like support chatbots. Because some of the things that RAG cannot do is identify multiple corpuses. Do I need to filter? Do I need to run an aggregation? Is this an analytical question? Are there more than one question? And so that's where we come into the era of agentic RAG. Thank you. This takes into consideration your data from end to end. Think of the needs of the query, like I was just saying. Look at our query. List all the users that signed up in the last 7 days. What happens here is you now need to go and do an aggregation. You don't need to do an actual fuzzy match or a vector search at all. We all just heard a lot about embeddings. So these agentic RAG agents, they behave like a database expert. They can extract both the fuzzy and structured. They can also ask clarifying questions because now you have that those agentic patterns that you can start leveraging while retrieving, aggregating, and providing this information and the best answer to your user. So here's a visual representation of things we just talked about. There are frameworks readily available today for orchestrating agents, LangChain, Crew, Llama Index. However, the core steps the agent needs to execute requires design and implementation. So, quick question. How many of you have a RAG or an agent or some sort of LLM-based application in production today? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people are still designing in the design phase? Okay, that didn't work, but but what you see here is this whole piece is all for the developer to go. You have to think about it. You have to design it. You have to spend resources. You have to spend time, really taking away from probably the end goal of your application. So what do? Instead, you build bespoke data agents, like the one that we built at Weaviate. Because then you can take away the focus from trying to figure out the prompt to make sure that the filters are coming up when the user asks for the analytical query. going in and maybe even doing transformations. I have my transaction data and I want to put summaries on it, or I'm going down the road, which we'll talk about in a minute, about even getting into personalization, being able to personalize product recommendations or personalize support based on the history of your vehicle or based on your investment strategies. So all the specific tasks we previously had to worry about collapse into a single box, acting as that intelligent layer between the queries, the application, the vector database, and the LLM suitable for most tasks. So at Weaviate, what we've created is, as of now, and per the safe harbor statement, everything could change, 3 agents: a query agent, a transformation agent, and a personalization agent. Now, the beauty of these is they can work across domain, as these are really some of the operations, a lot of the operations that when working with a vector database and a RAG system or an agent, you're going to be doing a lot of this as you are augmenting data, querying data, and trying to get that right user and that personalized user answer to the user. So, for a query agent? You query your data using natural human language. This would support also aggregations, filtering, in vector search, as I think we were talking, you heard earlier. Hybrid search is the new way to do search within applications. Not only so you can get that contextualized answer, but also map down into that keyword matching for things like as you're searching for products or looking at company names and trying to find information about filings or reportings. Now, as I said all of that, there's a lot going on there. So if you see, I can start asking questions like, I typically like vintage clothes and nice shoes. Can you recommend some of each below $60 and some above $100? Order by type, price, and category. 3 recommendations per category is enough. So this is a very complex question. In a traditional RAG system, it would take that entire question and just search the database, or search your corpus, or search whatever system that you need. In an agentic system, in the query agent, what it's doing is it's actually breaking down this query, identifying, do I need to run multiple queries? Do I need to do query expansion? Do I need to do compaction? And figuring out the best route forward. So you can see the search that I found, and it comes out with the answer. Below $60 are the vintage Scholar turtleneck, the retro pop hoodie, the Mystic Garden strappy flats. Now, personally, I'm going to go for the hoodie because I'm a hoodie guy, not too big on the turtlenecks, but to each his own. Then you see at the above 100, the vintage jumpsuits as well. But then also, these are enterprise applications. You need to understand what's going on. That's one of the keys of fitting into an enterprise itself. So we also being able to see and understand what the execution plan was. What queries were I doing? And what aggregations was I doing? Was I doing both? Which collections was I using? So as you can see in the second one with the analytical questions, it's the similar type of very easy to use paradigm of a couple of lines of code, which then, in this modern era, kind of in that ORM native driver space, continuing with that, but also thinking about taking out this development step. Think about how long you would have to sit with a DSPY pipeline or with prompt tooling and using your evaluation frameworks to keep iterating and iterating and iterating just to get a filter right, or get it to do math. Take that out of your step. Go keep working on the things that you need to work on to make the product or the tool that you're building successful for what you're trying to do. So for analytical questions, what is the average speed, the max win speed? A data agent like a query agent would come in and be able to understand it's an aggregation, run the aggregations. Within Weaviate, you have the full ability to run both these aggregations and queries. That's why it's part of our query agent. And then you'd be able to see, and also coming down to the last piece all the way at the bottom, what you can see is also another key piece of deploying in an enterprise, which is cost. So being able to see how many tokens and being able to extrapolate that cost based on the LLMs you use with the agent. The next agent is the data transformation agent. Now, this is not on the query side, this is not on the question side, but this is more on the augmentation side, the enhancement side. A lot of data is messy. Data is shitty, not gonna lie. It just is messy, it's nasty. There was this one time I had to print the data model of Salesforce. I printed it out on paper and highlighted the fields that I needed for the application I was trying to build. But what if I had a transformation agent that could go look in all of that and put out and give me fields and bring that metadata out, but also give me some augmented data, give me some augmented and more information, which then helps enhance the retrieval when you're coming and looking for retrieving that information. So you can do things like create properties through classification. So I can set in a data agent, not only just, oh, this is a classification, this is a yes, no, a true, false. I can set the data type too, which also keeps it safe. So you still have that type safe manner while working with a transformation agent that would augment data. Another cool use case that you can use is in your applications. People have their tables. You have a whole spreadsheet. Then you can add a column, write the prompt. I'm sure you've seen that in Google Sheets and some of the other spreadsheet technologies out there. Another thing you can do is create new properties. So you can have, let's talk about a product catalog for a second. I'm sure if you've all seen on Amazon, if you go into the review section now, there's a roll-up LLM generated review right at the top. With a transformation agent, you're able to do that and keep that data in place with the product so that when it's and immediately becomes searchable, so then at search time, you're immediately gaining the value from bringing back, from getting that synopsis of those reviews. Finally, for the transformations, you can do updates. Now we have two fundamental components for working with WIP data. The transformation agent, which, as you've seen, creates more insight, augments, allows for better retrieval. And then the query agent, which is the facilitating fast and accurate data retrieval and summarization with complex queries, with those human queries like you and I would have a conversation at the bar. But beyond this, the ultimate goal is to get all this information into the hands of the users. For that, we have the personalization agent. There'll be QR codes at the end that'll have pretty much all of these snippets on our documentation. So I will leave that up as well. All right. So the personalization agent, this is the first agent built as that next step after some of these query and transformation. These are the more, executing tactical type agents, whereas a personalization agent captures the user's behavior and interactions. It's actually going to now be doing something, and from a business value perspective, dynamically suggesting and recommending items, being able to create personas on the fly without you having to do anything. Agentic re-ranking, and then doing agentic pre-discovery, so utilizing agents, and then you can start learning the common patterns, because this persona agent could start, as you start feeding it data, and it's personification, so there's always going to be user data needed to personalize it, not PII data if it doesn't need to be, but having the ability to take this next step and go into being able to actively use this for not only e-commerce, but you could use it in healthcare or financial services for maybe the best credit card, or what's the best recommended drug based on my personal history and then the history of others with the same genetic types and such. With 3 data agents, we work in concert to turn prompts into structured data action. The possibilities beyond even more exciting when we think about multimodal data like audio and images. And as companies and as enterprises are starting to move in to using multimodal, with some of the embeddings techniques coming out for PDF extraction and all of that stuff. So the power really is in unleashing the prompts. prompts now, it's the definitions versus when we have an MCP, it's now instead of a programmatic type architecture, you're now trying to do more natural language description-based talking. The chef is the sign up to get started on Weaviate Cloud. You can get started up and running in probably 5 minutes or less with a cluster. And then if you wanted to start getting started with the agents, the beer mug on the right, is that the right? Yes. The beer mug on the right is to the documentation. Just please note the data agents are in technical preview. So feedback is always welcome, and we're always willing to hear it in our Slack channels. Thank you.
Thanks for the interesting talk. Oh, yeah. My question is on the query agent and the data transform agents, the first two agents. What would stop a vector DB vendor or those who produce vector DBs from embedding those two type of agent functionalities within the vector DB product itself?
So these are actually our product offerings. Weaviate is a vector database. So yes, to your point, that is pretty much exactly what we're doing. Is we are building these agents because we do see, these are purpose-built agents. They're not the big agentic frameworks that are happening. Really trying to focus as the functionalities grow and grow and grow, and the needs of the enterprises keep coming. A lot of these things are going to need to be reusable, which was why the MCP is so awesome. But then also, the MCP is just that layer, but then you need something under the covers that's rinse and repeatable also, but also adaptable. So by the vector database companies like we did, and I'm looking at our product manager, she nods to make sure that I don't say anything wrong, is being able to take that step out and being able that you have that dynamicness. So you could take this query agent, go use it for the fraud use case, then you can also go to the loan department and still use it at the same time because you democratize and abstract out the information about the corpus. It's about how you configure your databases and your engines and what descriptions, because remember, like I was saying, prompts are now the new power. So when you're defining your corpus and your schemas of your databases, you're putting in these very descriptive, very bespoke very descriptive descriptions, because that's going to be one of the keys that these agents are going to know what type of data is in these data sets. And so that's how it's going to get that informative decision.
Thank you. And I think there's one more person with a question.
He's right behind
Just
you.
wait. Yeah, behind you, please. Yeah, thank you.
So in general, if we put the document or whatever the data in the vector store, and then that's how the answers to the search back into the data. But what if we have much larger data we have to put into the database rather than the vector store? How does that go?
So for Weaviate, we built these for our vector database. So yeah, you would put in your data into the Weaviate database. Now, one of the other cool things, and one of the things we think about at Weaviate is developer experience and making it as easy and seamless as possible. Another thing that we actually did was we took the embedding step out of the development, out of the ETL pipeline as well. Because within Weaviate, you can configure we have embeddings modules and generative modules, so that at collection time, at corpus creation time, I can say, go use the Cohere embeddings model, go use the OpenAI embeddings model. And it'll go, and all I do is send my data into it, and it handles all the embeddings as well. So you would want to move the data into Weaviate. That doesn't mean you'd actually have to go out and vectorize it yourself. You can configure it in Weaviate. So then that move over would be less painful, because we all love moving data, but sometimes it does have to happen.